Bigfoots and Nessies and Chupacabras. Oh my. It's just like the Wizard of Oz right here on Pop Culture Problems. There's all sorts of creatures we have never heard about and maybe heard about. And John will be eating popcorn this whole episode. And sometimes we film a lot of these, John, and I kind of release them upon my schedule. But people are going to be able to piece together when these things occurred because they'll hear munching in one episode and not in the next one. So they'll be able to establish a timeline of your eating habits. Are you gonna make it?
Oh.
Are you gonna be okay?
I'm going to be one of those mysterious creatures that we're going to be talking about tonight because I'm going to mysteriously die, and it's not going to be that big of a mystery. It's going to be because I choked on a popcorn kernel.
Well, and, we would have it recorded. I mean, your death would... I mean, think of the views. Think of the amount of listens we'd get, when you passed away live on air from popcorn. I had a decent intro. It wasn't the best intro.
And then I ruined it.
Then you hacked it to death. I mean, so we're talking today about cryptozoology and, more importantly, cryptids, which I didn't realize was the term for specific creatures within cryptozoology. Did you know that?
I did not.
I didn't either.
No.
And it might even be wrong. Since neither of us heard of it, maybe I read it wrong.
Well, I've always just kind of referred to it as cryptozoology. I've never heard them referred to as cryptids. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention, but... I mean, I am a fairly active listener in regards to, this kind of stuff. I used to be a huge listener of Coast to Coast AM, which is a late-night radio show that they talk about this type of stuff. But, never heard that term before, though.
Yeah, so I could be wrong, but that's what I'm finding as kind of being the name of individual creatures within the cryptozoology, realm. So Bigfoot would be a cryptid within cryptozoology, and the person studying that would be a cryptozoologist, and, it's kind of like...
Wouldn't that be a phenomenal job to be a cryptozoologist? You're making money studying something that may or may not exist. So, where do you... I mean, and do people make a lot of money doing this?
Well, okay, I don't know if they make a lot of money. I'm assuming that there is a following. If someone like PewDiePie on YouTube can play video games and make millions of dollars, I'm assuming that doctors... But is it...
Are there grants that I can apply for? Are there grants that I can apply for that...
There are probably grants, I'm sure.
We are suckers. Why do we go to a 9-to-5 job?
Do you?
I do.
I only edit this podcast.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
30 minutes a week. That's it.
You have been holding out on me. I did not know that we were making any money here.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to say something, and I'm going to use two examples here so that I don't offend anyone specifically. But how is cryptozoology any different than science or theology? Because within theologists are doing the same thing. They are literally working with things
they're
that can't prove necessarily.
Yeah, trying to prove or talk about the unseen.
Or then science as well. They have theories, and science changes. I mean, there's certain things like gravity are the same, but certain things in science are like, oh, well, we found out that what we thought 10 years ago wasn't exactly what we thought. And so I don't put cryptozoology totally in that crackpot category because I find it a little narrow-minded to think that there are species of things out there, animals and creatures that we haven't found yet. Now, I think that
to me, Bigfoot's the perfect one of those.
Yeah.
I the Pacific Northwest in particular, there are areas of the Pacific Northwest that probably no human being has ever set foot on. So, and so, I can buy into the whole Bigfoot thing. I mean, and India has its... Tibet and Nepal have their own version, which is the Yeti. The abominable snowman, to the casual observer. But there's the Yeti, there's the Bigfoot. And there's a pretty good historical precedent for those being possibly in existence.
Okay.
I mean, what do you think about that? The whole Bigfoot thing.
Okay, well, Bigfoot, I kind of think that,
Or Sasquatch.
Yes.
It's probably the cryptozoological term.
Or have you ever watched Trailer Park Boys? They call him the Sam Squanch. I think that's a better name, Sam Squanch. So the way I see it is when we're looking at animals in general, if you're looking at an endangered species, there are animals that exist that, I mean, literally just have, hundreds of them left on the planet. You know what I mean? And so the fact that there might be an animal out there that we haven't seen, and to say, well, we would have stumbled upon it by now.
Uh-huh.
I mean, surely we would have seen 100 Bigfoots by now. Well, maybe not, and that until we were able to go to certain depths in the ocean, we weren't able to find some of these, translucent, glowing fish. So maybe we just haven't found them because of their habits and those types of things. Or also, maybe it's just a variation of an animal that we already know. So for Bigfoot, I think it's become kind of such a thing that it's been mocked so much, similar to aliens. And we've had the UFO discussion. If in today's times, if you showed me a picture of Bigfoot, I will almost 100% think it's fake. Because we're in that zone where people are trying to fake it. We have the technology to fake it. It would take a lot to prove to me that it's that. Even I've watched documentaries recently where they say, well, we found a body of an alien, or we found something like that, or actual evidence, and it turned out to not be an alien. It turned out to be a mummified human or a child or something like that. So even if you gave me evidence, I might be skeptical. But I'm not saying that it couldn't exist. It's just because of the type of energy surrounding cryptozoology, it almost seems crackpot more so than it probably is.
Have you ever heard the Theodore Roosevelt Bigfoot story?
No.
It was published in and yeah, this was like before, like it was written. His account was written before he became president of the United States. So maybe he was just kind of bloviating, telling like a hunting story, like a fishing story.
Yeah.
But apparently he was out in the woods, Pacific Northwest, with some buddies, and they came back to their campsite. Campsite was totally trashed, and they thought it was like a bear had come to the campsite. So they had like a guy out at watch at night to make sure that this bear didn't come back. Thing came through, making a huge racket, wouldn't come close to the fire. They didn't know what it was. Next day, campsite was trashed again. They decided, you know what, we're going to pack up the next day and leave. Well, that night, they shot at this thing, standing at like the doorway of a tent, and they went out to collect their traps, came back to the campsite with their buddy that was packing up the campsite. Guy was killed, left for dead by whatever it was, and they say that like they had to like back out of the woods with like their backs to the road so that they could like shoot this thing because it was like chasing them out of the woods.
It was a Sam Squanch.
And they say it was Bigfoot or Sasquatch. So I mean, like, that's the president of the United States.
Well, at the time he wasn't. So
that's true.
Yeah, but
and that was published in the book The Wilderness Hunter in 1923. If you want to check that out.
Wow.
Little citation there.
Did you just look this up while we were sitting here?
No, I see. Here's the thing. I did a report on Bigfoot when I was in high school.
So you're
and so I'm a little bit of a Bigfoot savant or Sasquatch savant, and that was one of the things to me that was like so compelling is that people, and I mean Native American folklore is filled with references to the Sasquatch. I think actually Sasquatch is a Native American word, but this is not something that's new. It's not something that's just like popped up in pop culture since Harry and the Hendersons. I mean, this is something that's been around for quite a while.
Oh, good movie, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a phenomenal movie.
Come on. Now, this is a little off topic, just a small segue, but I've been watching a show called Curse of Oak Island. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but there's basically this island that they believe this treasure was put under, and there's all these sort of booby traps under the island, and they're drilling down into it. And there's a legend that I think it's like 7 people or something have to die in order for the treasure to reveal itself. Well, apparently FDR was actually digging for this treasure when he was a younger man. And even after he became president, there's, like, documentation of him writing back and trying to find out the status and stuff. And so, like, it's interesting how, people before, Teddy Roosevelt possibly saw Bigfoot, FDR's treasure hunter. This is a time in our history where I feel as though if they would have presented me evidence, if I would have saw a photo of a Bigfoot that could be verified from that time frame, I'd probably believe it.
Absolutely,
because they didn't have the technology and they didn't have the ability to fake it as easily. And, when you look back at old movies today and you see the guy in the gorilla costume, you know that that's not a real gorilla.
Yeah.
And at the time when people saw that movie, they thought, well, how could they possibly be doing this?
Yeah.
And so their brain almost filled in the gaps to make it more realistic.
Yeah, and there was actually, it's kind of funny. I just actually talked about Sasquatch or Bigfoot with a friend of mine a couple weeks ago, and it's related to what, like, you're talking about with, like, a photo or something like that. I stumbled across it was a local newspaper article from Rugby, North Dakota.
Oh, wow.
And it was about these two guys back in, like, the 20s that had captured a Bigfoot, and they kept it alive in their basement, like, chained up.
Oh,
and, like, this article talks about how they had it drank, like, a bucket of water a day, or, like, a couple buckets of water a day, and, like, they were kind of outlining, but there was never a picture taken of this being that they had caught out in the woods, and they were keeping in their basement.
Wow. And this was it that they were supposedly keeping it?
It's like the 1920s in Rugby, North Dakota, in some guy's basement. They captured a Bigfoot.
And that's just that's what you do. You keep it in your basement, tied up. You never show anybody.
Yeah. You don't sell it to the freak show or anything. You just. And nowadays, like, here's the thing. Nowadays, if somebody captured a Bigfoot, they would either kill it
or eat it,
or try to make millions of dollars off of it because, hey, I found a Bigfoot.
Yeah, and there's this one guy apparently who's a famous Bigfoot hunter, and he did just that. He said that he found a body of it, kept it on ice, and then he took it touring the country and basically charged people to come see it, just like a sideshow. And turns out that it wasn't legit, etc., and it was faked. But yeah, I think people do take advantage and make money off it. But it's also fulfilling a need and a curiosity for people. And so is it really bad? When they did that during the sideshows and stuff back when, was it really hurting anybody for people to pay 50 cents to come, look at something that could be, something fantastic that they've never seen? I don't know. Now, some of the most famous cryptids, you have Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster,
the Chupacabra,
Chupacabra,
the goat sucker.
The goat sucker.
That's what Chupacabra is.
Oh, okay. Because there's also, I was looking at this list, and there's also the goat man. I don't know what that is. The Mothman, and then even on this list, I'm seeing is a giant anaconda, like the ones that you would see in, like, the movie Anaconda. And I think, for me, I'm wondering if there aren't giant versions of certain things, like the Kraken, as an example. When you're thinking of, like, pirate lore and giant squids or giant octopus or something, I wouldn't see any reason those things wouldn't exist. I mean, they found extra large crocodiles or alligators that have lived for so long that they've become such a big size. So I don't think those things are necessarily outside the realm of possibility. Yeah. And, if they're not here anymore, they're probably just extinct, or there's probably none of them that old anymore.
Now, here's one from West Virginia that I love the description of. It's called the Flatwoods Monster, and its description is a spade-headed extraterrestrial, possibly a misidentified barn owl.
Hey, misidentified what?
Barn owl.
Barn owl?
Yeah.
And what's this thing called?
The Flatwoods Monster.
The Flatwoods Monster. That's interesting.
But I mean, there are some here on this list, because I'm going through this list of cryptids that I found on the internet, and there's a lot of them that are explainable, like you're talking about how, like, a large crocodile. Yeah, they could just have lived for a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
to me, that's not really like a cryptid. Because like if it's a large crocodile or a large alligator, yeah, sure, it's just lived for a long time. It's ate a lot of things.
Well, but when you get into the, like, if you're thinking of, compare movies like Lake Placid or Anaconda, like, those animals are so incredibly large. It kind of goes outside of the realm of, what would exist. Or maybe they're prehistoric, versions where they were that size back in a certain point. Which actually leads me to another segue. I loved the movie Anaconda when I was a kid growing up. I don't know why, but I thought it was good. I also probably loved even more the movie Lake Placid. What is with these Lake Placid Anaconda movies, straight to DVD mashup things that are happening? Have you seen these?
I have, yes. I've seen them, but I've never watched
trailers,
them.
I've seen like they're like the worst.
People love the
animation
giant.
ever.
Yeah, people love the giant animal movies.
They're so, but they're worse than a
now,
video game.
Is Lake Placid? Is that the one with Betty White as the grandma?
Yes. Yes. And I loved.
I love Lake Placid. I love that movie.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Mothman. Have you ever seen the Mothman Prophecies?
Yes, I have.
That was a terrifying movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was terrifying.
Well, yeah, anything with Richard Gere is pretty scary.
It's Richard Gere and Deborah Messing, right?
Oh yeah, and I just don't. That movie didn't do it for me. I don't know. It just didn't. It didn't scare me at all. It didn't make me that much afraid. It wasn't like The Fourth Kind. It wasn't Signs.
Nothing's like The Fourth Kind.
Yeah, I don't know. So there's that, etc., and so on and so forth. Creatures are something that I think that we have mythology about. I mean, would you say that Medusa is, when you look at a creature like that, those are like singularities. It was like there was one of these creatures that existed. When we're talking about cryptids, you're talking about things that we're assuming that there's multiple.
Yeah, I'm thinking like you're thinking about like a separate species. I think, like the reptilians, like somebody that's living underground and like they come out and maybe you see them every once in a while.
So it's not like it's like a one thing. Bigfoot's supposedly there's Bigfoot
there's like
families
species.
Out there. There's a herd of them, or they maybe live in isolation. Whatever. So I think that.
And to me, Bigfoot is such a fascinating one because there's been so many sightings, like Nessie, the Loch Ness monster. There's maybe been a couple sightings. One photo that could have been Nessie, but was probably not.
Yeah.
But like with Bigfoot, you've had so many people that have said that they've seen one, had an interaction with one, been chased off by one.
I saw one selling mattresses on YouTube the other day.
Whoa.
Yeah. I was in a mattress commercial.
Oh,
I don't know how they got one of them was selling
cover
Slim
one, right?
Jims. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing: they're lucid unless you give them an advertising contract.
Yeah.
I mean, and then they're all over it. They're right there. It's like cavemen. They'll come out to sell insurance, but that was one of those things. I don't think it's so out there. I just wish that there weren't the extremists that would make things like this that are plausible so hard to swallow.
Well, and it's hard to swallow too because of things like Bigfoot hunters on TV and things like that, where people are trying to make a quick buck, chasing after sounds in the woods.
Yeah,
and like let's just like try to like figure out whether or not these things exist in a responsible way.
Yeah,
because what if there was like some kind of like in the Pacific Northwest? What if there's some kind of like Bigfoot civilization that they're just trying to keep us away from?
Wow. That's going real deep. Do you think there's an underground?
Well,
Bigfoot
maybe
society?
maybe they live peacefully amongst themselves, and they've seen what humans do, and they don't like what the outside world has to offer.
Well, and maybe when aliens are coming to learn about our culture, they go to the Bigfoot colony because they're more peaceful.
Or the Bigfoots are aliens.
Or other things. Insert theory here.
Maybe humans are just like Sasquatch hybrids.
That could be. Well, how much of cryptozoology and those types of things do you think is just fabricate. I mean, people who really believe. Like when if I say 1,000 people said that they saw a UFO, you might say, well, 10 of those were probably legitimate, plausible cases to investigate. 5 of those were mistakes. 5 can't be explained or something. You might have some breakdown. Do you think most people that think they saw Bigfoot, do you think that there's even a chance that that's accurate? Or do you think that they're seeing things? Or do you think that they're trying to pull one over on people?
Here's my thing with that, is I think that there's more of a stigma attached to, like, cryptozoological, like, claims as opposed to UFO claims. Because UFO claims, you could justify it as, oh, well, I think I saw a UFO, but it was just like a light in the sky. It could have been like a plane or something. So you have like the plausible deniability there. I feel like it's a bigger leap for people, for their friends to come up to them and say, yeah, I saw Bigfoot in the woods. I feel like you're really sticking your neck out there further when you do that, because I think it's a little bit more acceptable to say, hey, yeah, I saw a UFO. Because seeing a UFO is so different than saying, yeah, I saw a bipedal extraterrestrial walking through my backyard.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So like, what does someone gain by saying? I mean, what they possibly gain, I think, is outweighed by what they might lose in terms of the respect of their friends.
See, John,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think this leads me to this is a good segue for me to ask you a very personal favor. And I did this with another friend a long time ago, and I said to him, we were chatting about similar things like this, ghosts and extraterrestrials and things like that. And I said, if I ever saw something like that, I think that you would almost drive yourself crazy unless you were able to tell somebody. But to tell somebody and to not have them immediately reject you and think you're a crackpot. Yeah. You know what I mean? And to be able to have that conversation. So I think that because you and I are on the same page, that we could have that similar relationship where if I said, John, I think I saw Bigfoot, literally, here's all my rationale, of what I believe and how I believe, you got to help me with this. You got to either help me figure it out or at least not think I'm nuts. And I think everybody should have someone that they can confide in, that if they came to you saying something that it seemed totally otherworldly, that they would give you the benefit of the doubt and not just lock you up.
I will make that deal with you.
Okay, good. Done.
The only thing is if you ever ask me to like try to verify it by like going to the woods and finding Sasquatch with you, I will not do that. Because if you expect me to believe you, I don't want to be chasing no waterfalls.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
That is something I don't know if I can't make that deal, because I think if you were genuinely wanted me to believe you, I think I would be peeing my pants in terror.
Well, also, I think that you have very little to worry about because I don't like the outdoors.
Okay.
So right. I'm probably not going to be outside that often. So if Bigfoot comes to my house and is in my basement, I will call the cops first and then you. All right. You can believe me in the event that the cops come and he has already left. Or she. Because I don't discriminate. It could be a girl Bigfoot. It could be a girl... a
petite foot.
A petite foot, yeah. Well, not saying they're petite. Girl Bigfoots can have big feet, and that's okay. I'm not going to make them conform to some, petite-footed image that I don't want to. I don't want to do that. I don't want them to feel objectified or have to Photoshop to feel good.
It's very forward thinking of you.
Well, I mean, literally, we're talking about a species that may or may not exist. And we are already being accepting of them.
Yeah.
However they come.
So any of you listening out there, you're welcome at, I guess I don't know your address, or I would have given it out over the air here.
That's true.
You probably would have bleeped it out of the podcast.
Beep.
Beep.
Not a cryptid, but an endangered species, but something I'm just curious if you know about. The Tasmanian tiger.
I was aware of the Tasmanian tiger.
Okay, I remember seeing a video back in the day. It's a short clip. I think there's only like 20 seconds of video footage of the Tasmanian tiger. And it has this ginormous mouth. It reminds me of almost like an anaconda or something that can just like unhinge its jaw. And it's just this huge mouth. And it's a cool looking body. And for me, that animal looks like some hybrid, something like a chupacabra or something, where it just looks so different and otherworldly. And because of the way that video is shot, it almost looks like it's a cryptid. You know, it looks like some cryptozoological creature. And I wonder,
we should stop trying to say that word. We should just say cryptid.
We tried to say every variation of it just to show people how ignorant we are. But like that video, I think could be mistaken for a sighting video or something like that. Like we've captured a blank, and they could almost pretend that was an animal.
Yeah.
And because of the way it was done, and I wonder, like, I feel like we've lost that. Again, right now, I feel like if you showed me a video, I just would never believe it.
Well, here's something I want to see a video of. A jungle walrus.
A jungle
It's a walrus or otherwise tusked water animal that reportedly lives in the heart of Africa.
Wow.
The jungle walrus.
So
I'm a big fan of the walrus in general, but like a jungle walrus, I feel like would be an even cooler animal.
So is it supposed to be like a walrus that has kind of gone inland and has adapted to that climate, or it's a totally different animal?
Well, it kind of seems like to me that it would be a walrus that lives on land.
See, I'm seeing like a drawing of one that's like scaled. It looks like a tiger with tusks and scales.
Well, I mean, it can be whatever you want it to be. Nobody's gotten a picture of this thing.
If you believe in your heart,
yes.
It can be whatever you want. Well, I'm just saying that these people have thought it over. And maybe, I'm thinking the people that took the time to create this very detailed photo have based it on more information than I currently have about the jungle walrus.
Well, the jungle walrus is an interesting looking fellow. Yep.
He
looks like a tiger with scale. He almost looks more dragon-like than walrus-like.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at the same picture I am, and like, it's not like a walrus at all.
No.
So yeah, it could be whatever you want it to be, but I'm assuming that when you bless you,
it looks more like a saber-toothed snake.
A saber-toothed snake.
Yeah, a saber-toothed anaconda.
Let's just make our own. Okay, John, let's do this right now. We're gonna create our own cryptid. And so here's how we're going to do it, okay? You get to pick two animals, and I get to pick two animals, and we're going to create a creature out of it. Okay. So one of us will go, then the next turn, next turn. 4 animals total. And you have to pick what part of your animal. So if you say snake, you have to say, is that the body? Is it the tongue? Is it the fangs? So what does the creature have? So I'll let you go first. Start out.
I want dragon scales.
Yeah, dragon scales. So it can be any animal, any body type, but scales on the creature.
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to go... Now, I don't know if this is fair. I want you to agree to it. I'm going to go with a dragonfly, but large. I'm talking like a large... And so you're okay with the size factor.
Yeah.
So we're going to go with a large dragonfly. Like, I'm going to say, 20, 30 foot wingspan dragonfly.
Okay. All right.
Okay? Now, what do you got?
Tusks.
Ooh. You're just on the walrus kick.
I
mean, after you see that photo with the tusks...
No, I'm not. I'm thinking more of like elephant tusks. Like they come out as opposed to down like walruses.
Elephant tusks, okay. I'm going to go... It's like I want more time to think about it because I want this to be really good looking. I want it to be something that we can draw up and post on the Facebook page and people would be like, wow, that's good, you know? And because we already have flight ability, we already have a hard exterior, and we got the big tusks.
So it's got some offensive abilities.
Yeah, it does have some...
It's got defensive abilities with the dragon scale.
Ooh. So, I'm gonna... Okay, can we modify yours a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah, because I want to give it elephant tusks and a trunk. Okay?
All right, got ya.
Because I like the trunk. And I wanted to do the trunk, but I don't want that to be the end.
We'll go the head of the elephant. We'll just say it's got a head of an elephant.
Head of an elephant. I got it. Of elephant. And I want it to have the abdomen and stinger of what a really nasty wasp. You know, like that curved,
yeah. Jeez, holy
like
cow.
Yellow Jacket, like striped.
This thing is vicious.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's gonna go. So now we have to name it. So what are we gonna name this creature? We got a dragonfly with a wasp stinger, elephant's head.
I think you could just call it a dragon wasp.
A dragon wasp?
Yeah. Well,
a dragon waspephant.
Dragonwaspephant.
A Dragonwaspephant.
Yeah.
Because the scales, that includes all three names, and the dragon scales are more of a feature. So I mean, technically, it could have another animal feature because we just gave it dragon scales. But so the Dragonwaspephant, I like it.
Is it bipedal?
Well, it flies mainly. Okay. I was gonna say centipede legs, but it's gonna mainly be flying.
Yeah.
And I think it's more scarier that way. Okay, I like it, John. Thanks for coming up with that out. The Dragonwaspephant. We're making cryptids right here.
Where does it live?
Where does it live?
Yeah.
In your nightmares. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening to Pop Culture Problems right here on Pop Culture Problems. Oh, we'll see you next time.